Hello, everybody, and welcome again to another episode of 365 Ally, the podcast. My name is Mike Hartley, and I'm your host for the evening. Today, I am I'm just really loving having Dennie as the guest. I've known Dennie for a few years now, and he always brings a smile to my face. Dennie, welcome to the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, for those who don't know you, tell us a bit about yourself. Introduce yourself.
Okay, first of all, thanks, Mike, to be welcomed on the podcast, because for me it's also an honor to be invited by you. We know each other, as you said, for a long time. We are both advocates for accessibility, so we like-minded people think alike. So I am Dennie. I live in Belgium. Maybe you hear it on my accent. I hope not too much. So I have my own business in Belgium, DD Software. We are really trying to connect the IT industry with the social industry with a big, let's say the biggest emphasis on accessibility. Besides of that, I am a Microsoft MVP at this time for 7 years. I'm very proud of it. It's crazy. Or is it 6 years? Time's going fast. It's 6 years. I hope to deserve my seventh one, my seventh disc. So I do speak at conferences about accessibility and also neurodiversity and techie stuff. I make websites. I make websites accessible. I educate people. I do advocacy for accessibility in my hours, working hours, and also beyond it for the community, let's say, addicted to make the technological world a better place for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. And I will say, if ever you get a chance to hear Dennie speaking at a conference, yeah, you really should try and get along to hear him, because he's well worth hearing and watching. So cool, awesome. So as we do with all the podcasts, we have a rough few questions that I ask, and as I tell all the guests, there's no wrong answers. It's a chat between friends. It's a bit of fun, and the answers, the questions, they're all from your perspective, because we all know it's not one size fits all. It is definitely one size fits one. Everybody has different experiences. So with that in mind, a good starting point really is, for you, what does accessibility mean to you?
For me, accessibility means that software, websites, and applications, apps are accessible for everyone with all kinds of disabilities. In my own opinion, I'm going very far into accessibility. Let's say I even dare to go a lot beyond to the WCAG, because if you ask me, even the WCAG is even excluding some people. And of course, they are honest about it. They call it the chapter 0, the introduction, before chapter 1 with the perceivable. So they are really saying in the chapter 0 which disabilities they are excluding. And even there, I try to do loads of research myself. I have a cooperation with a non-profit, with a center for people with disabilities. I'm doing technology and working together with people in a center for people with cognitive disabilities like Down syndrome. So people with a limited IQ, and make software for them. So even working on software for illiterate people. But not only that, that's what I'm saying, is going beyond the WCAG. But I really do believe and I do like the WCAG for what it is already, because it's the basic. All those people also we want to include. So it's really including. a lot of people blind, colorblind, deafness. Let's say also that's really important. A lot of people don't think on deafness, by example, and accessibility. But if your application has a introductory video and there are no subtitles and there's a lot of like stuff being said what to do in the introductory video, then it's excluding people who are being deaf. So it's really the whole range of including people, and not only at the workplace, also applications that need to be used by citizens need to be accessible. They even need to be more accessible even for a wider range of people with disabilities. It's also something that I'm really working on and telling people and teaching them and making sure people knowing this. I don't want to see bad designs made by people for a promotion of an opening. And with bad, then I mean inaccessible. So where they are using a color contrast that excluding some people, where they are using the small work. So I really want to see it good that people are feel included and are welcome.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And just for folks, if they don't know, when we talk about WCAG, WCAG, it's Web Content Accessibility Guidelines developed by the World Wide Web Consortium. And really, they are the standards that underpin a lot of digital accessibility. If you use Accessibility Checker in Microsoft 365, for example, it will base a lot of the results on WCAG standards. But you make a really good point that they don't cover everything. And it's something that I say to people is there's no such thing as something being 100% accessible, because what you might do for one group of people might make it harder for another group of people. And it's finding that balancing act that makes it as inclusive as possible for as many people as possible. Yeah, sure, if you've got millions of dollars and you've got plenty of time, I'm sure you could build something that would be fully accessible, but no business is ever going to put that in there. So, but no, it's a really good point, and I love the work that you do. And I just love the heart that's behind that, and your outlook on it all is fantastic.
Thanks.
So, I guess this is really quite a big question because of the work that you do and where your passion lies and where your advocacy lies. For you, what is accessibility in daily life for you? What kind of things sort of do you use? Do you build? Do you make use of?
So one of the things that I see last of the time that I even catch myself on, so when I am not blind, I am in between having, let's call it just bad eyes and a very, very light form of vision loss. So I can see the most of the things with my contact lenses, but a lot of color combination where the foreground of the text is on a background that doesn't match, it is difficult. And that's as not being colorblind. And that's really something I'm started to dig deeper in. And then I did a lot of research. And then I saw that the problems of having a bad contrast between the fore and the background is even more a problem for people with color blindness. And then you are seeing so many websites, so many commercials being really, really bad in color contrast. And then I'm really starting to think, okay, it's excluding too many people. And yeah, that's really something that I see. It is so obvious the tools to test the color contrast, but really too little people know it and doing it. So that's where a point for me that it's really important. Yeah. Next to that, I'm neurodivergent, so I'm open about it. I have an autism diagnosis. So also clear communication, clear navigation structures, and navigation that is direct and to the point is so important. And it's also, it catches my eyes. Let's say, if I need to look to find the right content on a website as IT, as nerd, as geek, so many struggles well other people will have with, let's say, cognitive disabilities, learning disabilities, people being starting, let's say, aging and not being used to use a computer. Also a group to talk about, because there is a group of people with those disabilities but having a lot of accessibility issues. If you want, you can ask me more about it, but in general, it's the people who are not grown up with a computer in the digital world and need to do that. So again, it's more citizen and user. So, and then if I already need to search to find it, what will it be for other people? And then I'm thinking, my God.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, again, I mean, I just think to my parents, and um, they're they're aging, as people do, um, but they didn't grow up as children or teenagers or even young adults, really, with computers. And I mean, my mum always laughingly calls me her IT support, because I'll get phone calls and they'll be asking me, "How do I do this? I can't find this. How do I get there? How do I do that?" Whenever I see them, you can pretty much guarantee there will be questions about, "How do I do this on my phone? Because it's changed and I don't know how it works anymore."
Yeah.
And it can be really, really frustrating for them. And yeah, I mean, the whole thing with color blindness, color vision deficiency, but color contrast in particular, I have to have an app on my computers that brings up a yellow filter on my display, because if I have too much bright white light, I get a migraine.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's really interesting because the yellow filter, depending on the time of day, sometimes a day it'll be really quite strong. And I'll go to some websites and I can't read the text. I can't see what's on the buttons because the yellow filter, and yes, I know the yellow filter is artificial, but it highlights the fact that the color contrast isn't good enough there. And if I'm experiencing that, then there will be a whole group of other people who are experiencing the same. And there are plenty of apps out there to test website accessibility, to test for color ratios and contrast. And yeah, so yeah, I know you and I will keep shouting about this and keep
Can
saying, please, people.
can I say something? One thing
Yeah, of
more
course you can.
about this,
Yeah.
because the idea is so crazy that you have found a way to use yellow filter to, let's say, to stop migraine or for not having a migraine outbreak. If the website's color contrast is so bad that you are forced to turn off the filter, then you can be triggered by migraine due to the developers and designers. And it's, yeah, it's cruel. It
Mm,
shouldn't be.
yeah. Yeah. No, no.
It really shouldn't.
Yeah.
Same for but seizures and accessibility is the thing. By example, if you are building your applications and they are flashing too much, it can trigger epilepsy for people who are epileptics. It's not, accessibility is not something nice to build on. Really, if your software is designed and accessible, people can have epileptic seizures, no alarm for you, even migraine attacks. So fascinating. Or
Yeah.
even it can be a bad design.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's exactly it. I know you're kind of, like the technology and like using the technology in the best possible ways. AI has been, the explosion is huge. We all live in that AI world now. What would you say the impact of AI has been on accessibility at the moment, either positive or negative? Have you seen any impact on accessibility because of AI?
Yeah. And also giving talks about it. I think AI, let's split it up in two things. Let's say AI to help developers and AI for people. So, for example, end user thing like ChatGPT, it's crazy what ChatGPT can do for, by example, people who are illiterate. As I said, I'm working with Down syndrome, with people with illiteracy. And sometimes people ask me, isn't it crazy to let them use AI? And I'm working in a very protected environment where I teach those people, some of those, using ChatGPT to make their life easier. And it's funny if you like say difficult concept, like let's say a lot of words, concepts are difficult for those people. If you can say to the ChatGPT, to the AI, explain to a kid of 5 years old, it's giving amazing demos and examples. If you ask it, by example, learning to cooking to generate an easy to use recipe, it does it really good. Otherwise, the moment that you will find a recipe on the internet that is easy enough to use, at the same for autism context, questions that you don't dare to ask, AI is doing crazy good work. And then for the people, the developers, the technologies, the geeks, the nerds like us, let's call it that way. Let's call it how it is. A duck is a duck, my friends.
Yeah, it is.
A duck is a duck, even if it doesn't want to call it a duck. Too many people are spending too little time on making stuff accessible. So too many coders, designers are not implementing all the accessibility guidelines, all the stuff that's need to be accessible. If I say, as I said in the beginning, you can even go beyond the accessibility guidelines. For example, providing text to speech everywhere, because speech is amazing, for example, for people with illiteracy, for people with conditions like Down syndrome. Speech is a holy grail there. Instead of people, developers, or IT pros and citizen devs being afraid of losing their job due to, thanks to AI, they should do the same work but have AI next to them as a co-pilot and let it implement a lot of accessibility features. A lot of stuff that, let's say, business developers, people didn't have time to build, is able to build right now. In the same time as you did, but with AI. So we should stop being afraid of AI losing our job, but really start to embrace AI to really provide way more value. And then especially in the terms of accessibility, where there is still way too little value.
Yeah, yeah, 100% agree. Totally
Hendrik,
agree.
that's a lot.
Totally agree, mate. Yeah, definitely. If that's where we are with AI now and accessibility, what if you kind of get the crystal ball out and try and look into the future, which I mean, it could be 6 months, could be a year, it could be 5 years, who knows? What do you see the future of accessibility with AI looking like?
I think there are two things that we need to consider. First, what will be possible from a technical tool perspective. That's the first thing. But second, we also have what will business maker, decision makers decide. Let's, for example, if you say with AI again for developers, in which sense? If it's citizen dev, IT pro, a software developer, let's just call them devs because they are devs, because they develop something. I don't say coders, but they develop solutions in a way. Let's say for devs, it will depend. If the business let them really take the same time but having AI and provide a lot of new accessibility features, then the solutions will be way more accessible for way more people. But if decision makers decide we have AI, we will, let's say quitting half of our job, half of our team, we quit them, so they have a leave. and the same work need to be done with half of the team, or if they saying we are providing double outcome as we having right now in features with the same team, and it will not be the thing. So there will be a lot possible on what we build, but also it will depend on what decision makers will make, and that's scary. On the other hand, there are things coming for free. And for free, I mean literally free. If you create a free ChatGPT account, there you can already talk to it and use the wet aloud so that it also wets aloud text. It's really, really great. So some features will become automatical, or if we using a more funny name, automagical. So it all will be the balance. And that was also the reason that I decided already a year ago to start in a protected environment, training also people with Down syndrome to use AI, because they need to know it, they need to use it. The more use cases they are, the more it is used for that kind of accessible stuff, the more quality of life of those people is created, the more accessibility is created. So, well, we are seeing a world where applications automatically having speech interface that whistle out. It will depend on what people will do. Well, we are using AI to make all the stuff that we are building, confirming the WCAG, as most of the business is not doing yet. There will be a lot possible, lakes of possibilities, but it will depends on what those people with the money decide, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, money will decide everything. But
And that's
I
a
mean,
sad thing.
I've got to say that, I mean, I look at Copilot, I look at GitHub Copilot, I look at ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Anti-Gravity, all of those.
Yeah, we know them.
And it's really interesting because when I first looked at how they could understand accessibility, probably a couple of years ago now, and I would try doing it. I did a talk on Copilot and accessibility, and the results back then were very mixed, I think it's safe to say. It would get some of it right, and then other bits of it, it would say, yeah, I've done it, but it
Yeah.
hadn't.
Yeah, it always did
It
it
had
done
got it
it. It
completely wrong.
always does.
Yeah. But I look at where we are now in 2026, and I can ask AI to make something that is WCAG compliant. If I'm building a website or something or an app, I can say, make sure it's got WCAG compliance and it's got all the ARIA tags, which again, for people, ARIA is accessible rich internet applications, and it's a subset of WCAG. And it does a really good job of it now. It doesn't get everything right. You then have to prompt it a little bit more. But for developers who don't know anything about accessibility, who don't understand it, and who maybe don't have the time because of the way that their projects are being run, being able to say to AI, make this accessible, anything that AI does now to make it accessible is a huge improvement on what that developer would have done otherwise, because they wouldn't have done anything. And it's progress over perfection. It's that you've got to start somewhere. And I think as we start using AI more in this way, and it learns from what we're asking it and how we're correcting it, and it's training itself on what we're saying, I think, yeah, you go a year forward from where we are today, and I can see it's going to really be able to create some amazing accessible content. So it's definitely an interesting time. I think there's a lot of potential and possibilities.
Can I add something? No, you can ask, let's say, vibe coding is at this time a thing. There are haters, there are lovers, and I think also most of the haters use it to know what they hate, you know?
Yeah.
It's a bad fun and an open and a worldwide podcast, but most of them, I don't say all of them. So if you are offended as in people again, then you are one of those not doing it. I'm very sure that you don't do this. But let's say the majority is doing it. Now you need to say, let's say, put me a website with all the features, and make it an accessible website. But what if and I think we need to make it a step further. You don't ask for an accessible WCAG compliant website, but you get it automatically. So you
Yes.
ask for let's say, no, you can say, create vibe code, create a website for my favorite sport club. Point. People need to be able to subscribe for the next season. Now you need to say the same thing, make it fully accessible. What if we are coming to the time that accessibility is a norm and you just vibe code prompting to ask to create the website for the sport club, you even don't think about accessibility, but the code that is providing is being accessible. That will be very, very great.
Yeah. 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 I'd love that. I would love that if it, yeah. Yeah.
It
So
will
please,
become more difficult to change. We need to come to a time, and I'm going to dream. And I am Mr. Dreaming as believing, so I can dream. We need to come to a time that it takes more time and energy to delete the accessible elements generated by code, so that it's more easy, less work, less time, having it accessible than not accessible.
agreed. Agreed.
So they need to feel it if they are building it inaccessible. It's need to cost time, and
Yeah. Yeah. No. No. Yeah. Please, let's make that happen. Please.
it will be society. It will be who prompts, what prompted. I think one way of doing this podcast is talking about it, about how I envision the future. I see you do the same. We need to think about it. Society, developers, businesses will create a future of AI. So it will be us. And unfortunately, not only both of us, because otherwise it would be perfect. Let's say perfectly accessible, at least. Not us.
Yeah. No. No. Cool. So really the last question, and this what would be your one personal top tip for accessibility?
Make it easy. Whatever you build with a accessibility checker. Accessibility checker is there in Office 365, is there in Power Platform, is also there if you are building websites. Let's say in the browser, there are different way of checkers. I do love the Microsoft Accessibility Insights, but there are others. If you are building applications for mobile, there are two. So whatever you build, whatever you create on whenever way you are doing it, run it to an accessibility checker to be conscious about how accessible or inaccessible is what you are building.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I will say to people is if you don't know where to find these tools, head along to 365-a11y.com and we've got links to all sorts of tools. The Microsoft Accessibility Insights for Web is linked there. There are other tools there that you can use for things like color contrast, website testing. There's a link to Adobe's tool, which also tests for color vision deficiency as well, which is a really good insight to have. So head along to our website because you will find links there. And if you find links that aren't there, that you know about, please let us know so that we can add them so other people can find them. But Dennie, honestly, it has been an absolute delight having you on the podcast. It has been wonderful. Your insight and your passion and your heart for all this are totally infectious.
Thank you.
You've inspired me over the years and always bring a smile to my face. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. And thank you so, so much for all the work that you do as well, because yeah, you have a huge impact, and it's amazing to see. Thank you. Thank you. And with that, folks, that brings us to the end of this episode of 365 Ally, the podcast. So thanks once again to Dennie for a fantastic chat. And I will say so long, folks, and I will catch you on the next episode. I'll see you around. Bye-bye.